Welcome to Skydive's Introduction to the Paranormal, Episode 5, Part 2. Thank you for being here with me once again. Now remember, as I was saying in the last podcast, Episode 5, Part 1, practicing or meddling in any way with the spirits is opening a door to the world of the unknown. You have to be extra careful because, as I have said before, you do not know who and what you are dealing with in that other world. And as I have mentioned before, and I'll keep on reminding you as we go on, that you have to be and remain respectful. Another reminder, this show is an introduction to the paranormal. Never forget that. An introduction to the spiritual side of the paranormal, and not, may I add, the dark forces. I am simply explaining to you, or teaching you, if you will, the basics of the paranormal. Should you want to take this at a higher level, you can join me in level 2. But for now, you must learn the basics first. There are risks when contacting the spirits. You must be well prepared. So today's show is part 2 on the different tools and or equipment used during an investigation or any other event. And remember, never be alone when communicating or meddling with the spiritual paranormal, because this is not a joke. This is serious stuff. There could be consequences afterwards. Again, when using whatever tool you will be working with, do not hold it in your hands. For example, when recording, if you move your hand, unwillingly of course, you can hear it in the recording. Then you'll think there was some kind of activity when investigating, as opposed to when you leave these tools on a flat surface, then whatever energy is around it will be heard more clearly. But make sure that everyone involved in the investigation knows about it, as these investigations are normally done at night in the dark. Hope you have a pen and paper to take down the information and the names of the tools I will be giving you. Should you need to look it up on the internet, or if you go to a store, you'll know exactly what to look for with the proper names. Most of the tools or devices that I will be talking about are used on a regular basis by paranormal investigators or ghost hunters. By the way, when I was describing to you what a ghost box was, make a note that it is also known as a spirit box. So, let's start with this podcast, Episode 5, Part 2. The next tool to be added to the list is an infrared camera, or FLIR, which stands for Forward Looking Infrared. Some of them show the temperature, the reading in degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. You can see on the camera lens the heat or cold in the direction you are looking or aiming. But keep in mind that when I told you about hauntings and entities, that sometimes The atmosphere or the area you are in is not always cold in the presence of a spirit, but very often it is. That is why, before you start your investigation, you need to do a baseline. This way your readings will be more accurate. For example, to set yourself a baseline, aim your camera towards a group member. You will know how much heat the human body emits. It will give you a good idea on comparing the surroundings. A human body's temperature will show as yellow with maybe a little bit of reddish color. When you see blue, then it is normally a non-living being. I specify the word normally because objects will be seen in blue also. Of course, one way you can tell that it is a spirit would be because it is moving, as opposed to a chair or table, which do not move. And yes, a spirit can stand still, but if it is in a human shape or form, then that is a sign that it is a spirit, just like anything else. Practice makes perfect. All EMF meters read electromagnetic fields, which are mostly in all equipment used to read the presence of energy, and spirits are energy. And it is with these tools or devices that allow us to know whatever energy is near us. Pendulum. Some people are able to use such an object, but not everyone. I myself cannot use one because the object used as pendulum tends to go in the direction I would have in mind. In other words, it would go to the right if I want it to go to the right, and same for the left, and so on. And no, I am not moving it. I've tried it many times with other people, and I guarantee you I am not moving it. But some people are able to use it. Also, keep in mind that your answers must be short. A yes-no answer, right, left answer, and so on. You can buy a pendulum, or you can even make one yourself. For example, you can take a sturdy thread or even a string. Some people use the chain of a necklace. Then you need a small weight, like one of the many precious stones. The crystal is very good for communication. Or some people, when using a necklace, will have a pendant to it. Let the weight hang from the string or necklace. Then have your elbow touch the table and hold your pendulum straight over a map, for example, if you are looking for a specific location, or a piece of paper with yes and no written on it. Leave a certain distance between those two words. Give your instructions verbally out loud, such as, if the answer is yes, make a circle with the pendulum. If the answer is no, swing the pendulum in a straight line. And then ask your question. It may take time, or it may not work. Remember, you are just starting. You're not an expert yet. Side note, when recording during an investigation or seance, don't expect a full conversation with a spirit. They will always give you a short answer, mostly a one-word answer such as yes, no. They can give you a name or a verb to describe a situation. Maybe 2 or 3 words. It takes a lot of energy for them to answer, and that is why we use other devices other than audio recordings. Of course, when you get into divination communication, well, that's something else altogether. Okay, so let's continue. A simple flashlight that you are able to unscrew the light at one end to facilitate the communication with the spirit. For example, if you put the flashlight on a flat surface and you have unscrewed the light part at one end, just a little bit, not too much. By unscrewing the light part, the flashlight will turn off. But in fact, it is on. Make sure you ask questions that require a yes or no answer. Then you tell the spirit to answer your question by turning on the flashlight once for yes and twice for no. Okay, cards. For me, cards could either be a way to make contact with spirits, or it could be a divination reading. When I read cards, not only are they on the table to be read to my client, but very often I get a message from beyond that has nothing to do with the cards in front of me. Now, there are so many different decks of cards. Runes, tarot, which holds 78 cards, regular deck of cards, you've got the oracle, etc., etc. There are so many. Because there are so many different types of cards, I cannot explain them to you. When playing with a deck of cards, if you don't get any feelings from it, or the cards don't tell you anything, then you'll have to learn about them. Either from the internet, or even attending a class that specializes on that field of expertise. But if you keep on practicing, you'll get the hang of it. Sage. I know sage has nothing to do with the tools or equipment or devices, but the fact that we are talking about communicating with the spirits, it is good to know at least one way on how to protect yourself before and after an investigation or before and after communicating. So sage is used for cleansing and protection. It purifies the area that needs to be protected from negative energy or spirits. For example, the white indigenous sage is believed to purify individuals, removing negative energies and spirits. It can also be used on objects. For example, if you hold a seance, then it is recommended to protect the area and the people before the seance begins. And then once the seance is over, you can do some more smudging. Since you are calling on to the spirits in a seance, and since we never know who we will contact, it is simply a protection. There are, of course, other ways of protecting yourself or the area where you are, but this is one of them that is widely used. Dowsing rods. Those are the same kind of rods used to find water underground. I'm sure you've seen that before on TV or in person for that matter. Well, some ghost hunters will also use them for communication. I've never used them myself, but there is a technique should you wish to try it one day. Here's one way on how to use them. Normally, a yes answer will be when the rods cross each other, and a no answer, the rods would be going outward. Again, you should do a baseline by asking a question where you already know the answer to. This way, you will be aware the way the rods answer you. For example, you could ask, "Did I have coffee this morning?" If you did, then the rods should be crossing. Try a couple of questions like that. When you'll get to be an expert, then you'll know how to handle the dowsing rods naturally. But just a twitch of your arm or your hand could give you a wrong awaited answer. You have to be very steady and comfortable when using these rods. Ouija board. Never use that alone. It's even safer to never use it, period. This is not a game. One good comparison I can give you is when cops go on a raid or are called onto a violent scene. They never go out there alone. They always have a backup because they never know what to expect. Same thing goes for the Ouija board. Seriously, it is not a game. A lot of people who use it or used it are paying the price today, as we say. Have consequences happen to them. I know of a young girl who has been marked for life up to this day. After she told me her story, I told her that it sounded like someone had been playing with the Ouija board. And sure enough, she was floored when I told her that the signs she detailed to me were from using the Ouija board. I am telling you all, this is not a game. The best example as a comparison that I could give you is when you so-called play with the Ouija board, you are absolutely opening a portal. It's just like when you open your front door at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't know who can show up at your doorstep and just walk into your house. You left the door open. What else would you expect? The Ouija board is the same thing. And of course, when you're home, no one can guide you or tell you what to do or what not to do. No one to hold your hand and help you out. You just cannot say, "Okay, let's play with the Ouija board." And once you finish, you pack it up and put away. No. There is a proper way to start and a proper way to close the session. You have to close the board properly. Just like you would properly close your front door and lock it, so no one would walk into your house without your permission. Anyway, that will be for level 2. Now remember, as I said a couple of times before in my other podcasts, this is an introduction to the paranormal. So I am introducing you to the common tools or equipment or devices. Just like any other equipment, they become more and more sophisticated with time. But the fact remains that you are just starting in this new adventure or journey. So you can start with these tools or gadgets or whatever you want to call them and work yourself up with time. Some of these tools I do explain more in detail in my level 2, but for now there are other forms of communication such as the art of divination, which I will talk about in episode 6. So, before I leave you, good night, sleep tight, don't let the ghosts bite your toes. Till next time.